This is the 2015 Hyundai Genesis. It's the second generation Genesis, and by my estimation, a far better execution of this dream to bring a competitive premium sedan to the segment. Now, when you look at the segment itself, everything from the Cadillac CTS to the BMW 5 Series, Mercedes-Benz E-Class, and Lexus GS, all those vehicles are anywhere from $10,000 to $20,000 more expensive than a comparably equipped, comparably contented Genesis. And that's the real story here, but there's so much more because this car not only looks great, it actually drives extremely well. Luxury sedans are one of those vehicles that everybody aspires to at some point in their lives. So as you can imagine, it's a very important segment. When Hyundai chose to get into this about 5 years ago with the first generation Genesis, a lot of people looked at it with skepticism. After all, this is a car company that was used to making these cheap alternatives to Hondas and Toyotas. Now all of a sudden they want to compete with BMW, Mercedes, and Lexus, and it was kind of a head scratcher. They've done a really good job and spent some time with some of the engineers that were responsible for addressing some of the shortcomings of the outgoing model. For example, Hyundai put a lot more effort into making this vehicle quieter, making it ride better. One of the issues of the outgoing power steering system, it was electro-hydraulic, where this one is now belt driven, which is what BMW, Mercedes, and Lexus use, and that gives them just a much more refinement. This is a big process. A lot of software is involved, and getting it fine-tuned. Their new chief of global design came from Audi, so there's a lot of pride and a lot of heritage there. But let's talk about this car. The interior has been dramatically improved. What you see that looks like aluminum is aluminum. It's not plastic. They have some nice new matte woods that are just beautiful. You have an optional 9.2-inch navigation screen, high definition. Over here between the tach and the speedometer, you have a standard 4.3-inch screen or an optional 7.2-inch if you get the technology package. A lot of great technology with the lane keep assist. It'll actually vibrate the steering wheel and move you back into place. We tested it. It works. The transmission has been upgraded. It's Hyundai's in-house 8-speed transmission, but it is a much better version of the old 8-speed transmission. Now, paddle shifters. If you saw my old video of the Genesis R-Spec, I couldn't believe that a sporty Genesis was not going to have paddle shifters, but now every single Genesis gets paddle shifters. So what's the bottom line? We drove the car today almost 250 miles, so that's a very healthy first drive of this car. We look forward to spending a full week with it, but it's our first evaluation, and we were pleasantly surprised. Everything they said they were going to do, they did, from the steering to the suspension, to the quietness of the vehicle, the NVH. Everything has been addressed. The interior has been dramatically upgraded. The transmission is good. I thought the engine was the 3.8 V6 was a little loud at times, but we could certainly live with it. We didn't have anything else to compare it to at this particular point in the review, but I look forward to going back and driving Mercedes and some 5 Series and a GS to see how loud they are. We also drove the V8, which is fine. We got a 0 to 60 time of about 6 seconds, which was a little bit disappointing for a big V8. The car weighs about 4,100 pounds. It gained about 100 pounds over the outgoing model, but it also it grew. The wheelbase is longer. The overall length is not much longer, about a 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch, but the wheelbase got longer, and there's just more content inside. That certainly added to the weight, but overall they did a fine job. With a starting price of $38,000, it's really hard to argue against this vehicle. If you wanted something this size, rear-wheel drive, you don't have a lot of options in that price range. You really have to go up to almost $50,000 to get a Lexus GS or I think you can get a CTS with a 4-cylinder around 46,000. So to get it with a V6, you're going to be up over 50. So there's really about a $12,000 buffer between this and the next comparably equipped premium rear-wheel drive sedan, and that is a big difference. And in some cases, it's as much as $20,000. So we factor all that into consideration. The seats have gotten considerably better. Last model, seats weren't that great. Seats are great. This is a car I would definitely recommend to somebody who is more concerned with what they're getting, what's under the hood, how the vehicle drives, how it feels, all the amenities, as opposed to what badge is on the hood. Hyundai's design philosophy is known as Fluidic Sculpture. The last Genesis and last Sonata, those were under the Fluidic Sculpture 1.0. Now we have the first vehicle really to come out of Fluidic Sculpture 2.0. So if you like this big, bold grille and you like the kind of more sleek design, not as many curves in the car, this is a much sleeker, more modern design. I like it. I think it's going to help Hyundai stand out. So not only do they have great pricing, a great ride, but they also have a great styling that you can be proud of. I mean, when you look at this badge, I don't know, it could be anything, but it's a Hyundai Genesis.